up on Tech News today, Windows Phone 8 has a launch date. The new iPhone's leaking out everywhere. Amazon sold out of Kindle Fires, and Spotify is making some big inroads in Deutschland. All that and more next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, August 30th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by the new Squarespace. Squarespace introduces a new content management system, making it faster and easier to create a high-quality website or blog. Plus, more than 50 new features, including mobile responsive designs of automatic device scaling. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT8. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And Tom Merritt is off slaying some dragons. He's probably on a plane right
he's
about
at a
now, going to
convention
Dragon
for dragons.
Con.
Right, that's the thing. That's why people go there to slay dragons.
Right, exactly. So the rest of us will do what we do best. Hopefully you'll still really, really enjoy the show. And let's start off with the top 10 stories of the day in the news fuse. The Korea Times says its sources spoke with Samsung officials who said that the company is in talks with U.S. carriers. That's a lot of games of telephone. Those carriers include Verizon to modify designs across the Galaxy line. These are the same products found to infringe in last week's landmark patent loss to Apple. Samsung and carriers will jointly develop modified design technology, though the person would not say exactly what was planned.
Oh, the game of telephones?
Yellow!
Phones?
Everything's yellow.
That's the future. Mary Jo Foley reports that Microsoft will officially launch Windows Phone 8 on October 29th in either San Francisco or Los Angeles. Handsets won't be available until early November. According to Mary Jo's sources, Microsoft will also hold a launch event for Windows 8 and the Surface RT in New York City on October 25th.
AT&T's first flagship store, which is currently under construction on the ground floor of a building at the corner of Michigan and Ontario in Chicago's Magnificent Mile District, opens this Saturday, September 1st. Reclaimed teak wood is just one element of the store's eco-friendly construction, which also involves energy-efficient lighting and appliances. AT&T says they're shooting for LEED certification next. It's also 10,000 square feet and will live under an enormous ultra-touristy cafe and restaurant.
Samsung showed off its Windows machines at IFA. The Samsung ATIV, or ATIV, that's how it's spelled, tab is a 10.1-inch tablet running Windows RT that will work with a keyboard dock. Samsung's also selling an 11.6-inch Windows tablet that runs on Clover Trail under the same name.
President Barack Obama's unannounced Reddit AMA yesterday set a record for Reddit with more than 200,000 concurrent visitors during the AMA, which makes yesterday Reddit's biggest day ever. General Manager Eric Martin told The Verge, "Chaos here," he said. That's a quote. Mainstream outlets seem surprised by the stunt. Apparently, the White House thought that it would work better if nobody knew about it ahead of time. And then
crash the servers.
Yeah.
Great idea. Attention, everybody. Amazon announced that Kindle Fire is sold out. You can't get it anymore. Well, not from Amazon directly, that is. But officially, that's it. It's gone. Amazon said the Fire has 22% of the tablet sales in the United States. Is Amazon telegraphing that it will announce something on September 6th? Yeah, of course. New Kindle Fires next week.
More news coming out of IFA in Berlin, this time from Lenovo. Joining the IdeaTab family are the A2107. That's a 7-inch screen, micro SD, expandable memory, built-in FM radio tuners, 16 gigs of memory. We've got the A2109. That's a 9-inch screen, 1280 by 800 pixel resolution, 1.2 gigahertz quad-core Tegra 3. And then we've got the S2110, which looks like it's more competing directly with the Asus Transformer. Dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm 8060A processor, up to 32 gigabytes of internal storage, and a 10.1-inch IPS display.
In the United States, 49 out of 50 states have settled with HarperCollins, Hachette, and Simon & Schuster to pay consumers $69 million if those consumers bought ebooks under the agency pricing model. The settlement is subject to approval, and the publishers are still working a deal out with the Department of Justice. If you're wondering about that one state that didn't go with the rest of them, it's Minnesota. You're the freak state.
It's peanut butter apple rumor time. Get it? With a baseball bat? No. New reports say that the next iPhone will run on an A6 chip, which would be the first Apple device to use that processor. And that's not all. French site nowhereelse.fr has a side-by-side image of the next iPhone with the previous iPhone. We'll find out what's true and what's not whenever Apple decides to hold that press conference that isn't actually real yet.
Hybrid laptop tablets are all the rage, and HP's getting in on the action. The Envy X2 is the latest 11-inch Windows 8 tablet from HP. Spec time. The Envy X2 has an Intel Clover Trail processor, 64 gigabytes of internal storage, NFC and stylus support. The tablet portion weighs 1.5 pounds, and the included dock adds another 1.6 pounds. HP didn't mention pricing or availability yet.
All right, this episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by the new Squarespace, because now it's faster and easier than ever to create that website of your dreams. Beautiful templates, 100% drag and drop functionality for all customization tools. Now, if you know CSS, you might say, I don't need something like that. But if you don't, believe me, this makes things really, really simple. New page builder tool called the Layout Engine that helps you customize pages in seconds by treating the whole thing like blocks of content. So you've got photos, you've got videos, text, social media content. That's really important for a lot of people these days. Plus, the new Squarespace integrates all of your website needs. Maybe there's more to it than just putting up a bunch of photos. You might want domain registration and design and development, hosting, customer support. That all factors in. It's a unified service. It's not just a blog engine. Makes it fast, makes it easy to create that website, that blog, that photo display, whatever, that place to put your video podcast, all of that. For a free trial, go to squarespace.com. You can sign up for a free account. It's easy. No credit card is even required. You don't need to do anything except try it out. Start building your website. Use one of their built-in templates, guaranteed to like it. And then if you decide to purchase, use the offer code TNT8 and you'll get 10% off that first purchase on any new Squarespace accounts. And those include monthly and annual plans. Don't forget, free domain registration with those annual plan subscriptions. So you might want to go yearly. That's squarespace.com and use the offer code TNT8. And we thank them for sponsoring this episode of TNT. All right, let's get into some of the stories of the day. And to help us with that, Christopher Null, editor of the Intuit Small Business Blog, is here to join us. Hey, Chris.
Howdy. How you guys doing?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for joining us again.
Happy Thursday. Always happy to be here.
All right. Yeah, it's a good Thursday. Iyaz and I both have really long days on Thursday.
Long days, but we got some good news.
Yeah, we do. The good news is actually just a rumor.
We've been in the rumor mill a really long time. I think it was, Wednesday?
Yeah, it was just a couple days ago we were down at the rumor mill. It smells so good down there. You know, the flowers are blooming, the birds are chirping, and possibly iPhones are getting A6 processors. At least that's what Sonny Dixon, who is a researcher at 9to5Mac, at least that's what his Twitter bio tells me. He's been digging around, posting some photos of a number of components that have been leaking out of the supply chain, the old Apple supply chain. This particular photo, actually it's down a little bit lower. Keep going. There you go. That particular photo is of an A6 design seen on a main chip, supposedly. Now, this is something that could absolutely have been doctored up. In fact, Dixon says it needed to be enhanced with Photoshop just to see the details. Some other blogs have jumped on the train and blown it up even further and added some contrasting and brightness options. It certainly says A6. Whether or not that's true remains to be seen. But if you think about it, I mean, if the new iPhone gets the A6 chip, it's the first in anything from the Apple line to get that chip. The iPad 3, the new iPad, pardon me, has the A5X. iPhone 4S is the A5. That would be it. Would be the fastest chip, which is strange. Well, I mean, I don't know if you think it's strange. The new iPhone has LTE, for example.
I would think that the next iPhone has to really knock them dead, everybody, because right now the iPhone, the design is kind of long in the tooth. It's a small device, and once they increase the size, they have to say something about the performance. And if it has that A6 chip, which I think is rumored to have, it's supposed to be a quad core. If it can do that, that means this is a device that people will have for the next maybe year or two, because they refresh it every year. But to have this new version, this has to be their main product, because that's what Apple's become. The iPhone is their #1 product, and this has to be the leader. So the A6 showing up in that device probably means that we're going to see some really cool apps and things on it, because it's going to be more powerful than the predecessors.
Chris, do you buy this iPhone getting the A6 chip?
I do, and I totally agree with Iyaz's logic. It's time for Apple to really step up the game, and it hasn't done anything really interesting with the 4S. Apple is at risk of stagnating unless it really does something dramatic. I mean, you think about last year's 4S launch, Siri was the big news. They really need to change things up, because they're going to be at risk of being left in the dust by Android phones.
More leaked photos, as we mentioned in the news views from the French site Nowhere Else. There is some debate as to whether the little bronze piece, originally thought to be the NFC chip, may actually be a speaker for the headset or something else entirely. A couple days ago, we all thought, well, NFC, that doesn't sound too far-fetched.
What's with all the leaks with Apple now? I mean, the thing is, we saw this with the iPad, with the A5X, and like that got leaked. And then, I mean, obviously the iPhone 4 got leaked because it was found in a bar. But it seems like every single piece of this phone has been shown already. They're
Supposedly.
Supposedly, that's true. These could just simply be, parts from somebody's like old machine. But like it just seems a little ridiculous that apparently whatever secrecy was involved seems to be just completely gone. I mean, is it just simply free press time? It's like, yeah, we'll just leak this image. Look, it's a slightly larger screen.
These are the sort of leaks where if a blog gets it wrong a few times, people stop believing their sources, right? I think Renee Ritchie on TWiT the other day, or maybe it was MacBreak Weekly, he works over iMore, said, hey, we've got great sources. Our sources are pretty solid. If we end up being wrong, then you won't believe us anymore. And that's on us. We have to make sure that we're confident before we publish anything. Then again, some of this stuff is going to turn out not to be true, no matter what anybody says, because that's the way that it went last year and the year before.
It just seems a little leaky. I mean, this is just like, okay, here we go. Let's actually
Seems a little leaky.
Can we just get
Indeed
this press announcement already, like set already for the 12th, and we can shut up about these rumors until the iPad Mini in October?
If we complain loudly enough, maybe Apple will just send out those invitations already.
Emails already. Let's go.
As for the photos, we see another apparent evidence of a 9-pin connector that would be replacing the 30-pin. And this is actually a piece of truth, all right? In a world of rumor mills, piece of truth, Apple's reuse and recycle program now will allow you to select the model, color, and condition of your current iPhone 4S if you happen to have one, and other devices. But the 4S for the first time from their little online wizard, and will output a price that it believes your device is worth. Now, a 64-gigabyte iPhone 4S will go for about $345 in very good condition. The smaller storage iPhones for less. But hey, if you really want to upgrade and you feel like you just can't make it happen, you're a little stretched thin in the wallet, this is a great way to pay a couple $100 less, potentially. Unless you've got, I don't know, if you've run over your 4S a couple times and know that it won't be worth much.
Yeah, I do that every week. That's
With a shattered screen.
It's a stress test.
Chris, what do you think about the frenzy that is the Apple rumors and what happens around this time each year? Does it seem different this year than in the past?
It does in some regard, but I think that might be the Steve Jobs void that we're starting to feel now. He was the one that drove secrecy at Apple, and without him around, I'm wondering if people aren't so concerned about it anymore. Apple thrives, as we know, not only on secrecy, but on having rumors made about what's going on inside the company. And I think it's a smart move from a PR perspective, marketing perspective, to keep those rumors going. So I've never really completely understood the devotion to secrecy that Apple's had, but I do understand the desire to stay in the news. And when you have a new product coming out, you're in the news because of the Samsung stuff. You're in the news because Amazon is combating you with tablets. You've got Windows coming out. You want to stay relevant. You want to stay on the top of that news cycle, and this is how you do it, leak after leak.
Let's get out of the world of rumors, shall we?
Yeah, done with this mill. It stinks.
All right, this mill is no longer has the pleasant aroma.
No, it's turned on me.
Yeah, well, at IFA, by the way, there's been a ton of different pieces of hardware that have been shown off, and HP showed off its NVX2. That wasn't at IFA, but they showed that off. ASUS has their tablet laptop hybrid called the Vivo, VIVO. It's not to be confused with the music service.
VEVO.
Exactly. And Dell's got their XPS Duo 12. It's got this pivoting screen. If you remember the original Duo, it had this pretty cool design, but the screen was just miserable. Toshiba's got a slider. Sony's got sliders. Everybody's got some kind of new wacky design to handle Windows 8. Chris, what do you think is the best design for Windows 8? I mean, obviously, Microsoft says touch first, and a lot of these manufacturers are going with effectively these tablet hybrid laptops where you can rip off the screen or you can slide it open like a phone.
Yeah, when the tablet frenzy began, I never would have guessed that the hybrid convertible model was going to be the thing that took off. I thought we were going to go completely keyboardless, iPad all the way, and now it's really been interesting to see every PC manufacturer come along with a hybrid like this. And I think, you're right. What Microsoft said is touch first, and Windows 8 without touch is an iffy proposition.
Then again,
so you have to have it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I interrupted you. Finish your thought, please.
That was kind of the end of the thought. I mean, you really need both when you're using Windows 8. You have to have touch capability for that main screen. Then if you actually want to do heavy duty work, which anyone running Windows is going to be doing, you need a keyboard. So this makes sense to me. I think the real question is how are consumers going to see this as different from a tablet with an add-on Bluetooth keyboard, or a simpler solution like that, which would be considerably cheaper. I mean, these convertible computers are pretty expensive, and they're going to be a hard sell, I think, in a world where people are accustomed to $400, $500, $600 tablets.
Yeah, that's true. At the same time, I think, particularly for the Windows crowd, just because things are changing a lot for some of the consumers that you're going to have to relearn a lot of stuff with a new operating system. To have that keyboard bundled in is almost like a sense of security, right? It's like you can have your tablet. You can use it as a tablet 100% of the time if that's what you want. But don't worry, it's also a keyboard. See, it's all in one, so you get it all at once. I'm an iPad user, and I will admit that the iPad is lacking until I use that Logitech ultra-thin keyboard hat-on, which actually makes it a laptop again. I know that that's not the original point of the iPad, but when I have to be typing or doing certain things or working within certain apps, you really do need that keyboard, or you have something that's not truly a laptop competitor.
When ASUS came out with the Transformer, it ran Android. That seemed like a pretty cool idea. You had the tablet, you could rip it off, you had this keyboard dock. But Android wasn't built for a keyboard or a trackpad. It was built for touching. And the fact that Microsoft has this operating system that is a full-fledged computer in there. I mean, you have a full operating system in there. It's not, I mean, we'll say what you will about Windows RT, but the x86 versions of these tablets will be running old desktop applications as well as the new Metro apps, or whatever they're calling Metro now. But I think this might be the right form factor for this kind of thing, because it's not, I know people say that Microsoft is saying no compromise. I think it is no compromise. You have best of both worlds in this scenario. And it also makes me kind of confused, though. Why would Microsoft come out with their own piece of hardware when these designs are pretty good looking? I mean, HP's, their NVX2 looks really good, and so does the ASUS models, Dell's models. A lot of their hardware manufacturers have really good looking products. Why would Microsoft bother to make their own when we're now seeing the results of every other manufacturer?
Well, and potentially ticking off some of these companies too. Some of them have been vocal, like, Microsoft, we know what we're doing. We've been partners for a while. We've got good stuff. We all win. What's the problem?
Chris, what do you think about this, about Microsoft's move in light of all these released tablets, or soon to be released?
I mean, my hunch for why Microsoft is doing its own hardware is that it's deathly concerned about crashing and stability problems on third-party manufacturer hardware. You think about it, iPad never crashes, and if a third-party tablet, Surface tablet, starts to crash, that's going to look just terrible for this operating system and this launch. It wants to start controlling the, from start to finish, the whole environment, just like Apple does and does a very good job of. So I think that's why they're doing it, and they're also trying to kind of subtly pressure the manufacturers into raising the game. I don't know if we would have seen hardware this good looking had Microsoft not have announced its own product.
All right, let's move into music streaming. Yesterday we talked about Move, M-U-V-E, which was a joint music service with Cricket Wireless for a lot of prepaid customers to also get unlimited downloads of music bundled in with their bill. Well, Deutsche Telekom is going to make 18 million tracks from Spotify, currently sort of the leader in that whole streaming music subscription service, available to over 35 million customers in Germany in October. And the kicker is that the data usage associated with the streaming will not count against subscribers' data limits. So if you think about it, subscribers can upgrade to a new monthly data rate of about £30, the equivalent of £30 per month, to use Spotify Premium on smartphones or tablets or PCs for offline, online streaming. Existing plans can add Spotify Extra for £10 per month. This was a English article. That's why I'm quoting all this stuff in pounds. But the same price as Spotify Premium would be separately is that second bundled price. So you just avoid the music streaming data that would count against your data limits if you can go ahead and bundle it in with Deutsche Telekom if you're a customer. It's also good timing. IFA's happening in Germany right now. Deutsche Telekom also owns T-Mobile, so they've got some reach globally. But this isn't the first deal that Spotify's made. They've got a deal in place already with Virgin Media in the UK. Virgin bundles Spotify with premium subscriptions, makes it available over a connected TV service. Spotify also has a deal with Yahoo in the US to be its default music provider. Very hip. Other deals with service providers, SFR over in France, KPN in the Netherlands. Spotify just launched in Germany earlier this year in March, actually. And it's not the only game in town either. Rdio, Deezer, there's a German company called Simfy, are all competitors. But I have to say, I like where this is going, where mobile carriers are saying, well, listen, if you're already paying this much and you bundle in Spotify service and you like music, you can decide that the $10 extra or whatever it converts into in the euro it costs, then you end up saving on your data limits.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, why would you bother to use any other service if you're using Deutsche Telekom? Because if Spotify is not going to count against your cap, you'd more likely pick that one over all these other competitors. That's a really huge leg up for Spotify when it comes to this market. The thing is, like you mentioned, there are all these competitors already out there. But if you're on this wireless carrier, you go, well, I could use Spotify and it won't it won't even run into my cap. And that to me seems a little problematic at times. Like, I would like to be able to use any music service, but the idea that this is going to make Deutsche Telekom a little different, I like it for the reason that it doesn't count against the caps, but I don't like that it's discriminating against the other.
Sure. I mean, I'm an Rdio subscriber. Rdio is available in Germany. What if you liked Rdio better? Then it's like, well, it either counts against my caps or it doesn't. But I have to choose Spotify in order for that to be the case. So yeah, I mean, it seems a bit anti-competitive. Chris, what do you think? Do you follow music streaming stories?
Not a lot, but I do wonder about the pricing. I mean, does this seem expensive to anyone to add music for 10 euros a month, or go to I'm looking at the story on the other computer, but 30 euros a month for the unlimited? Now, is that including your regular data plan plus the music?
What that is, the deal with Spotify Premium is you can get Spotify for free on a PC, but then if you go mobile and you want offline access, you end up paying more. If you were to upgrade on a new monthly plan, so you had an existing plan, you can add, and this is on Deutsche Telekom, you can add Spotify for just 10 more euros per month. So if you're already a Deutsche Telekom customer and you say 10 euros per month, it was euros, not pounds, sorry about that. Well, that's what I would pay for Spotify anyway if I was just signing up independent of this. So now I just get music streaming that doesn't count against my data plan. So it's a win for Deutsche Telekom customers who are interested in this.
I'm trying to find out if it's extra. Let's see. The first Deutsche Telekom mobile tariff with an integrated Spotify premium account will be available for about 30 euros. So it looks like it's the whole bill. So that's what it looks like from their press release, from what I see there.
Right.
If
Well,
you're,
that's not a
if-
bad deal.
Yeah, I mean it's basically it's a good deal for anyway customers of Deutsche Telekom, and there are many in Germany. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of deals they continue to make, particularly around Europe, which they are continuing to roll out in. But enough about that. Let's talk about Windows Phones.
Let's talk about Windows Phones. There's a research study there. Bernstein research analyst says that the, quote, poor sales of Windows-based phones stem from a deep and stable lack of consumer interest for the product. And he says that the lack of consumer interest for Windows-based phones has been very consistent in marketing surveys we've carried out across the years, and the situation of Windows in mobile phones is now very unlikely to revert. So basically, he's also predicting doom and gloom for Nokia since they're so tied to Windows Phone. And as I said in the news fuse, Mary Jo Foley says that Windows Phone 8 is going to launch on October 29th. There's also this story from the Wall Street Journal, a bunch of analysts saying that Samsung is going to get buddy-buddy with Microsoft with their phones a lot more because of what happened with the Apple lawsuit. The thing is it over for Windows Phone already, or did Microsoft just not have the right partner? Do you think that, Chris, do you think Samsung could be the partner that would bolster Windows Phone?
I don't know that anyone's going to do a better job of making a good-looking Windows Phone than Nokia is doing right now. That's a great. The Lumia series looks awesome. I mean, if any phone, Windows Phone is going to make it, I feel like that's the phone that's going to make it. Windows Phone 8, will that change the picture? Maybe, but I think the report is basically right. I mean, Microsoft is so late to this game that there's so much catch-up. It will never be the leader. The question really is, can it be a viable second or third tier choice for consumers to make a business out of it?
I keep thinking that Microsoft they're gonna break into this market much better with Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8 at the same time, because that interface is uniform across the board. When you have your Xbox, your Windows Phone device, and you have Windows 8, it's going to be that same experience. So whereas people right now go, what's the deal with all these tiles right now? When they take a look at a Windows Phone, they'll understand it more when their desktops and tablets are using it as well. I think that the analyst might be. I mean, right now, Windows Phone seems like it's a loser because it's a dead end. Windows Phone 7 is not going anywhere other than 7.8. But Windows Phone 8 is the future when it comes to Microsoft. So I think that Samsung might be able to put out some high-end phones, because Nokia was just looking to get back into the U.S. market. And they produced these pretty nice-looking phones. But spec-wise, Samsung is I think they're going to kill them, because they have the ability to produce these chips and hardware a lot cheaper, I think, because they make all the components anyway.
Yeah, I think this analyst saying this situation is not going to get better. We're seeing the nail in the coffin already, is extremely premature, right? Windows Phone 8, like you said, we're not even there yet. I mean, we got to get through October 1st. Samsung and Microsoft teaming up is very, very interesting. Samsung has proven to be a leader in the Android market. They make really nice phones. I don't know that many people who would disagree about that. So if it was the sort of thing where it was like, okay, Windows Phone 7, not a huge hit, but Samsung's going to get into the game, that would be different. But we're looking at an updated operating system on top of new partnerships with different manufacturers and different form factors. And I don't know. I don't think that it's over yet. I think that that's a little silly.
Yeah, Windows Phone 8 allows for a lot more hardware configurations, screen resolutions, as opposed to the first wave of Windows phones, which are pretty much all the same. That's why I think even the Nokia made a really nice piece of hardware. The thing is, nothing really differentiated because they all had the same resolution. They all had the same processors. They all had the same RAM, all the same capabilities. So at some point, they're all the same. Versus the new version of Windows Phone, which is going to be on all kinds of different devices. I think Samsung might be able to do something with it, because if they are hurting from that lawsuit, they'll be like, well, look, we can promote this thing and do quite well.
All right, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, I think we need to see what people think about Windows 8 in general before they start moving their entire infrastructure to the Windows world. That's really going to be the key.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's move into the whole Amazon pulling the Kindle Fire. Wow. What happened?
Gone.
Well, actually, that's not really what they said. They said the Kindle Fire tablet is sold out. We've plumb sold out of these. Amazon has pulled the tablet from sale. This is, of course, widely expected to be, because there's going to be a next-gen Kindle Fire announced next week. I don't think anybody doesn't think that that's what the deal is. But it's interesting the way that Amazon is very secretive about actual sale numbers. They don't actually give those out, but they do like to put very positive spins on how successful the Kindle Fire has been. And that's despite conflicting feelings from Kindle Fire users. CEO Jeff Bezos said in a press release that Amazon will offer our customers the best hardware, the best prices, the best customer service, the best cross-platform interoperability, and the best content ecosystem, which is where Amazon does shine. That's their thing, right? Is that not only do you get an Amazon device, but you've got that whole Amazon ecosystem at your fingertips. The Kindle Fire went on sale not even a year ago. It was November 15th in the U.S. only last year. Was the most successful product launch in the history of Amazon. 10,000 five-star reviews. This is the sort of stuff that Amazon likes to put forth, right? I don't know if you noticed the five-star reviews, but Amazon wants to make sure that you know that people really, really like this. But they don't release their exact numbers. What Amazon is saying is that the Fire has captured 22% of tablet sales in the U.S. Now you think to yourself, 22% of tablet sales? Really? We don't actually have specific numbers.
I mean, I guess you could probably extrapolate it.
Yeah.
Try to, but yeah.
That seems pretty high.
But yeah, the Kindle Fire, this announcement is it's one of these like, look at me, something's happening next week, because they're getting buried in the news right now, because we know next week either they've decided to pull out of making tablets entirely, which would be very funny. It's like, okay, by the way, we're sold out, and on the 6th, we're not making it anymore. That's it, we're done.
If you didn't get one, too bad, too sad.
That's it, it's all over. No, but I mean, obviously they're going to come out with that new Kindle Fire, and this is one of the reasons why I waited on the first one. When I saw the Kindle Fire, I'm like, that's not bad for first rev. But Amazon is really good at that second revision. I mean, take a look at the original Kindle. That thing was just hideous. It was, if you actually read the history on it, it turns out Jeff Bezos wanted the design of a BlackBerry in an e-reader, and that's what that thing looked like. So they revised it again to make it look a lot prettier. Chris, do you think that what are you expecting out of the next Kindle Fire? Are you expecting beautiful hardware? Are you expecting it to still be a clunker, a 10-inch? What do you think?
I don't think they're going to change the form factor. I think they will streamline the design a little bit and make it a lot faster. I mean, I think the biggest complaint about the Fire I've heard is performance. But I don't think you're going to see anything majorly dramatic. I think you'll also see a big price cut, too, just to keep it, wow, I can get this tablet for, $149, $129. Who knows how cheap they're going to go. That's been the strategy with Kindle all along. I don't think they're going to change it now.
There's actually conflict with the rumor that a while ago that Amazon was going to keep the Fire out right now for like $150 when they introduced a new one next week. So I guess they're not going to be selling that old Fire anymore. Because I mean, they usually keep a rev of like the e-ink versions. They keep something around. Like the Kindle keyboard still exists. Looks like that when it comes to the Fire, they're just going to say, okay, look, this is it. We're not going to keep it around as a budget cost, a budget option, because the Kindle Fire already is the budget option.
Well, and you figure, like you said, if they've revised it and updated it so that it's heads and shoulders better than that first gen, you kind of just don't want the first gen out in the market anymore, or certainly being so cheap that people continue to buy it and have a lesser experience. Amazon's Android App Store is also now live in the UK, in Germany, in France, in Italy, and in Spain. Of course, big rival to Google Play Store. It's also the first time that the store has expanded outside of the US. Speaking of Europe, Barnes & Noble has announced that they'll launch their line of e-readers and tablets, e-readers first, in the UK in October, along with a new UK online store for the Nook digital bookstore and partnerships with leading retailers to sell those devices. They've also slashed prices on the Nook Color and Nook tablets, which we talked about previously. The Nook tablet has less than 5% of the U.S. market for tablets. It's really, it's anything from Amazon is obviously tough to beat, but they are getting into the European market. I don't know how much what has happened in the U.S. and the numbers here will prove the same across the pond.
Yeah, the Nook was like the sweetheart of Android users everywhere because it was this nice, cheap piece of hardware you could do some really cool things with, and then it kind of just died off because the Kindle Fire was also hackable. But it's tough going for Barnes & Nobles.
Chris, do you think the European market is a different place for these Nook tablets and these e-readers, or is it? Do you see the percentages staying about the same?
It doesn't seem on the surface a fundamentally different market to me, but I don't know enough about the European market and how media consumption works over there than it does in the States. So I can't think of how it would really fundamentally be different, except you have the fragmentation of all the carriers.
So if you're going to have a tablet or second screen, right? This is where we watch. Do you watch a lot of TV? Do you watch it with a tablet, Sarah?
Oh, you mean when I'm watching TV,
Yeah.
am I also holding my iPad and doing other stuff? Pretty much consistently,
Well, apparently
yes.
you're part of this study. Google and market and analysts, Ipsos and Sterling Brands took a look at how people are using their TVs, phones, tablets, and computer to consume digital content. And the thing is, it turns out that users are watching TV on average for about 43 minutes per session, which is the most of any screen. But 77% of the time, we are simultaneously using another device like a smartphone or a tablet. Turns out people use smartphones more than tablets when they're watching TV. Research shows that a majority of online tasks that you start with a smartphone continue on another device like a desktop or laptop. And Chris, is this consistent with how you use devices? Are you constantly watching TV with a second screen?
Pretty much exactly like that. Yes, I don't think I've ever watched TV in the last 3 years without a laptop in my lap or a phone or a tablet. Yeah.
Is TV just getting that crappy that we can sort of like not pay attention and still follow what's going on, or is it just?
I don't think it's television's fault, honestly. I think we just have all these choices. I mean, laptops, you know, they became the mobile version of desktop, but they weren't necessarily comfortable to have on your lap. You know, they're really hot. They kind of weighed a lot. I mean, laptops that I had just a few years ago are certainly different than the MacBook Air now that is my primary laptop, which weighs almost nothing. If I've got an iPad in my lap, even better. I mean, it's just convenient. And there's so much stuff going on online now, especially with, social networks that are updated every, millisecond. And I kind of like to be part of a conversation while I'm watching TV as well. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. It's a very multitasking way to relax on the couch, but it's hard for me not to do that.
Well, if you're watching a show like Breaking Bad where you have to pay attention, not like Mob Wives of Chicago. I mean, you can basically go ahead and look at your smartphone and not miss a beat.
You're right.
That's one of the things I've noticed about a lot of programs. Like if you watch reality programs at all, they repeat everything after the commercial break, and so you don't have to pay attention anymore. It's the same level. So it's kind of, I think it's an interesting race to see every other content producer go, hey, look, we have a second screen experience. Like here's a Shazam button, or here is our smart glass with Xbox. There's all these ways to try to get into that second screen. I don't know if people really want, the television influencing that. It seems like when I'm using a second screen, it's always like, okay, I'm on IMDb. Who is that guy? I know that guy from something.
Right.
But for the most part, I'm checking email and not paying attention to the shows.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's you're actually your half of your attention span is devoted to something that has nothing to do with what you're watching. That's why, something like reality TV, the producers know things like that. They know that people are, they're also making dinner, or they're looking at their laptops, or they're answering email, that sort of thing. There's always going to be the content that doesn't allow you to do that. But those shows are, I can count them on one hand, at least those kinds of shows that I'm watching. So I think the challenge is getting people to use this whole, these second screen, apps and services that relate to what you're watching rather than, you're checking Twitter, or you're on Facebook, or you're reading an article type of a thing, which has nothing to do with what you're watching. And that's what I think people are doing more of. All right, with that, let's get random. It's the randomizer. Iyaz, am I hearing this correctly, that Sergey Brin is buying up property, but
Yes.
not because he wants to become some sort of a slumlord? It's because he wants to charge below market rent?
That's what he's doing. According to the Wall Street Journal, Sergey Brin he's created a small real estate firm, and what he's doing, he's buying up downtown property in Los Angeles, and he's renting it out at below market rates to stores he thinks families in the community need: a children's bookstore, a children's play space, and a child-friendly coffee shop. So I guess Google's not evil, right? That's supposed to be their motto. But this is you expect them to do something crazy, like I'm going to build a theme park, in downtown Los Angeles, and here you go, Sergey Brin doing something like helping out a community.
Well, yeah, the idea, right, is that there's empty space, but the terms of leases are such that if you're a mom and pop store, there's almost no way that you can ever move in. So what happens? They stay empty for a really long time, or they get a Walmart or other chains that can afford to be there, which doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing for the neighborhood, but it doesn't help the organic community growth of a neighborhood, and that applies to anywhere. Certainly not just downtown Los Angeles, although downtown Los Angeles has a lot of growing to do, certainly as far as a neighborhood goes. Chris, what do you think? Is this Sergey changing the future for LA? Is this help prove that Google is not evil? This is just him, not the company, right?
Yeah, this is Sergey, I think, not Google, but I think it's great that he's doing something to help a community. I don't know exactly why he picked downtown Los Angeles, but great, good for him. I would love to see more people step up that had a lot of money and do this in distressed areas around the country and around the world.
Shall we?
Sure.
Shall we do conspiracy theory? He won't allow Microsoft stores. He won't allow Apple stores. He won't allow. No.
I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. I think Microsoft
He buys up all the property, make sure they can't be there.
Now AT&T has their flagship store. They're probably going to want to expand into downtown LA. Those are not below market companies. They can afford to pay the lease term. So he's looking for little farmers markets and clothing shops.
Google glasses and farmers markets. This is what Sergey Brin does.
And a Google glasses store, exactly. So that you can find the other stores.
That'd be interesting if that's the way you test things.
Yeah.
Like if you look around with Google glasses, you can see, oh, look, that coffee's dark roast. That one isn't.
Exactly. So we'll check back in a year and see who's moved into Sergeyville. All right, let's check the calendar.
Steam Greenlight starts today. That's the system that asks the community to help pick some of the next games to be released on Steam. Even though news is coming out of IFA already, it officially kicks off tomorrow, August 31st, and it runs through the 5th of September. Also, tomorrow, Zune HD apps will be pulled, and Zune Pass will lose its mixed view playback and channel playlist features. Music video streaming for the Zune desktop software also ends tomorrow. Ohio's texting ban starts on Friday.
I can't believe they hadn't had one yet.
Well, they don't have it yet. Tomorrow they will. Saturday, ComEx, Singapore's biggest IT and consumer tech exhibition, starts on September 1st and runs through the 4th.
Thank you, Iyaz. Now let's see what's incoming.
Incoming message.
Got an email from Ramsey Mosen, who says, hey there, Tech News Today. Huge fan to the whole crew. Thank you, Ramsey. I live in Kansas City, and while we're not typically thought of as a tech city, the installation of Google Fiber has certainly put us on the map. I wanted to share with you some speed tests I was able to do with Google Fiber on site at their facility that they have open to the public for demonstrations. As you may know, they haven't deployed it to the public neighborhoods here in Kansas City just yet. I tested and recorded on video a typical speed test. .NET style test. They have their own tester. They wouldn't let me film or use speedtest.net, which is interesting, by the way. But he does have a video of the test.
It's got 900 megabits down.
And counting.
700.
Well, no, it's holding steady about 920. Yeah.
The upload speeds are around 700 megabits per second. That's just drool worthy and I'm very, very jealous.
Would you like a napkin?
Sure.
Just for the drool.
We have something?
Well, I wish I had some.
We're going to have to get somebody on that.
Well, we can clean up after the show. It's almost over. Yeah, that's awesome. It's nice to know that it could be a very different story, right? Hey, these speeds actually are total bunk. We're getting half of what Google promised us.
They promised a gigabit. They didn't even come close other than the 900 megabits.
So it's good news coming out of Kansas City, and I'm very jealous, Ramsey. I will be moving there shortly.
Email from Will Bramlett. He's talking about TomTom here. I understand that this is part of wild speculation, but my first thought on seeing the TomTom van was, I wonder if Apple is encouraging TomTom to do this, because iOS 6 uses TomTom data for maps, and I think Apple knows that many of the more casual iOS users will wonder, hey, where does Street View go? And end up complaining. While Apple might change some things in their products, I don't think they like to change things for the casual user. Casual is a key word because it's their market. So maybe that's what's going on with those TomTom Street View vans that have been spotted.
Chris, are you a big Google Street View user, and are you going to miss it in iOS 6?
I use it from time to time, mainly just for the novelty, to see what somebody's house looks like when I'm going to it. I don't think it's a deal killer not to have it. And if the mapping app is more robust, I think I'll be okay with it.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory, Will. We hadn't thought about that before, so could be.
Yeah, man. The thing is, Street View is probably like TomTom's future. They need to make sure they have a future. So
Well, and Apple too, right? I mean, Google Maps is. I really look forward to seeing what Apple's got cooking, and if this Open Street View competitor that, of course, they've tweaked internally, lives up to what everybody's hoping is actually a worthy Google Maps competitor. But Street View, even though I know not everybody uses it regularly, has come in handy for me many times. I mean, I will miss it. I use it constantly.
You get the Google Maps app later then.
I looked up
Just
an old apartment I lived in the other day just for fun. That's actually not all that helpful. It's just what I did for nostalgia purposes. But we need that. Don't take that away from us, Apple. All right, let's finish the show.
Finish it.
Now that I've gone on a rant about nostalgia and Google Maps, I think it's probably time to wrap it up. Want to thank, though, everybody who helps out in our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. That's the place where you can submit stories you want to be featured on Tech News Today. But even if you don't have anything to submit, or you just kind of want to lurk, you can vote stories up and down and help us build our rundown each week. And also, thanks to Christopher Null over at blog.intuit.com. Tell us what's new and interesting at the Intuit Small Business blog.
Well, we're buying up a lot of inner city property. Wait a minute. We're writing about small business, technology, the intersection of the two. We blog every day, multiple times a day. It's a great place to come if you're running a business. Check out news about how to succeed.
All right. Well, blog.intuit.com, again, is where you can find more from Chris. Thanks again for being with us. And thank all of you for watching and listening. You can email us at TNT or Tech News Today at twit.tv. No, it's TNT. You can also leave us a voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll be back tomorrow with Darren Kitchen. He's going to sit right there. It's going to be awesome. See you guys tomorrow.
I misread it. Sorry, guys. That's not Los Angeles.
Oh, Los Altos for Sergey.
Can we just fix that in post?
Los
Altos.
And then Chris will say, I don't know why you chose downtown Los Altos. That changes things somewhat because Los Altos is right next to Mountain View, actually.
I have LA on the brain. Sorry.
Well,
not exactly a depressed neighborhood either.
No, certainly not.
I think that's one of the top 10 richest zip codes in the country.